Nights on the nights I remember, nights I won't forget. We ain't had no lights, but we still found a way. And I sing a song to get me through the day. God put us right about the money. Oh, from the gutters to the runway. First time I ever seen snowfall. Craziest thing I've ever seen. Crazy than
Scotty C got this one.
Shalom, balance, paradise, righteousness, all CFR network, CFR news. We here rapidly approaching and getting closer and nearer to the Gregorian end of the Gregorian year of 2023, moving into 2024. And, got to bring the sibling back to unpack and reveal a little something, man. I mean, it's been for myself. Let's reflect before we actually get into the meat and the potatoes. 2023 has been a wonder-filled year, man. There hasn't been that many challenges. I mean, but when you turn on the old pocket computer, or when you open up the Slap, or you look at the old surfboard, you're seeing chaos, confusion, terror, the things you would not imagine necessarily seeing. The price of living has most definitely risen like the sun. It's ridiculous at the moment. Utilities, everything. It's becoming increasingly challenging, but I say with a big smile on my face, those who have eyes to see and ears to hear and have been diligent and haven't said, yeah man, I want to keep up with whoever, and are comfortable and confident in themselves, they're okay. The ones who are fully locked in, they have foreseen this tar. They have foreseen these times and said, yo, hold up, this is I'm seeing these white papers and stuff, and I'm hearing these things that they're saying on the news, and I'm seeing these things in social media. I'm like, okay, they're clearly driving this home. I need to fortify myself. Whereas, unfortunately, we've had the masses who unfortunately are becoming asses and lemmings, and I guess what's that other term that people utilize? NPC, non-player characters. Like it's I guess at some level it's depressing, just seeing that constantly. But at the same time, if you divorce yourself from technology and actually go out, I don't necessarily have that many interactions with non-player characters, with the lemmings, with the sheep. I mean, without doubt, you have to, because in virtue of how this plane of existence has been set up, we can't just live in our own cocoons and stay within our own palaces or homes. So you got to get in there. I'm not seeing the level of depravity though, Tar. I ain't going to to the Walmart and seeing people fighting in the aisles and stuff. I'm not seeing shoplifters just emptying out whole loads of stuff. But I go onto social media and I'm seeing all this stuff, Tar. Can you relate to what you're seeing on social media to what you're seeing in your everyday?
I'll say one of the magical things that they've been able to do is hide the immigrants, because like some of these major cities where they're dropping off these immigrants at, they doing it in such a way that the people, you don't really see them when they drop them off. You know, I got the clips, I keep up with the news in the state, they drop them off in 43 states. Now, New York, people was able to see them when they was at as far as the messiness of the hotels and they were staying in. But now, a clip that has surfaced where they are now going door to door asking for money and food because the money is running out. And, you know, this is going on around the country, and they're trying to see what the Democrats them trying to do is they're trying to, but the money is running out though. So they're trying to, they thought they was going to be able to hold this free for all until it was time for them to vote, because they're trying to make people who are not from here have the ability to vote.
Yeah.
Carry firearms, drive without a license. This is the crazy stuff that all these different states are doing because they're under pressure because of the politicians that are all locked in doing all this nasty occult stuff that's now starting to creep out into the public. Right now, they've been able to hold down when politicians and stuff who've been going to jail over the years. The only thing they can able to do is leave, let's say, a couple of scandals here and there, but it's deeper than that. But as far as where I'm at, I don't see them. You may see one or two standing on the corner by the main highways, you know, holding a sign saying they want money and they take food and all of that. But like in droves, no, because they're paying the cities they dropping them off in to house them in old buildings that was used for something else. You know, like Chicago, they making a fuss about it because they're taking schools that are actually still being used and taking other people's children out so they can pay for that. Like Mayor Adams and them is saying that he gonna make cuts to certain stuff in New York so he can take care of immigrants and stuff. And that's because these people all been blackmailed because they got caught up and set up to do sexual situations, and then now they stuck. So when you see the leaders of different levels making these laws that you know that makes no common sense, that's the reason behind it. And you know, Klaus Schwab and all of them is behind putting the pressure on these people. But what's going to happen is they're going to run out of money for these states, and people going to really see what's going on. Like a lot of black people is now waking up. They're not looking at it from the same point of the Republicans, where they be like, well, you know, y'all keep voting for Democrats, this is what they doing. They kind of looking at it like they realize that now as it get more extreme, that they have to change, and they have to stop saying what you're not going to do. See, the political black people who vote Democrat and all of that for these years, what they have done is waited too long to say we're not going to do something because of y'all, we're not going to give you our vote. See, now they already got the immigrants here. And the immigrants are going to be, what they want to do is use them as the voting without having to go through that, taking our tax money, providing for them all the way up to it's time to vote. And once they all vote, this is their plan, to go all the way Democrat, then they think they're going to have supreme power, which they're not. Because now China and the United Nations, which I told you this 2 years ago, their plan is to come in, they're going to get rid of that. It ain't going to be no Democrat or Republican in a communist system. You see what I'm saying?
Of course not. Hey, aren't they also talking about allowing the immigrants to join the army as well?
Yeah, that too. Yeah, they doing that as well. They recruiting. They doing all of that because they have to. By them doing that, they also have to get rid of the American public, and that's what they was trying to say, that the IRS was hiring like 87,000 auditors, and they was gonna get them weapons to be able to run up in people's spots and audit them and get rid of them. So they have to get rid of us to make room for all those millions of people. So what they're doing is trying to break them up, because you got about 6 million people here. Now they're making the system, the government system, you know, they're breaking all these numbers up. So they're going to allow the military to take some,
yes,
you know, them to get jobs over here. And this, so they got to break it up. But what you going to do with the people that was already here? See, so everything they tried to say that Trump was trying to do with January 6th, they're doing that now. Even with the riots, with Soros and them was behind that, bankrolling it all the way now. Now they're taking away people's right to vote by bringing in more people, giving them a right to vote, and they're gonna outvote black people, taking their vote right out. And so our people have to see that. You see what I'm saying? They think it's political, but it's not. All of this stuff is sexual. Everything you're seeing is sexual. Everything.
As in the leverage, the perversion is the leverage to enable them to be able
to control these people. And that's why I'm gonna go into the information so I can show you what I'm talking about. You know,
come with him, man. Come.
All right, so I'm gonna go into this is what Afro Umu wrote in the 60s. 1967, Bible interpretation and explanation. Let me know when you can see it.
Yeah, man.
All right, so this right here, when you look at it, right? Let me move my picture up. Let me get down here. So,
Scotty C got this.
Right here. All right. And so who's the serpent and how did it beguile Eve? This is to start with here first. The serpent was a giant sex and spirit force who's able to control, peoples and nations by sex, by spirit generated from blood and the waters of the earth. Leviathan has many spirit members and parts distributed throughout the earth and was casted from the sun approximately 17,250,000 years ago, just before the evolutionary cycle began. All right, the moon cycle is the climax of evolution cycle. The serpent Leviathan is the moon god Sin who hypnotized Eve and excited her womanhood by his forces, and in turn Eve excited Adam's manhood and had sexual intercourse, which was forbidden by the laws of the sun god, because Adam and Eve were priests and nuns before Adam and Eve defiled it. Sex was sacred, meaning it was used only out of necessity and not out of lust. The serpent Lucifer brought lust into the picture, and it does this through stimulating sex in various ways. And this is why it is called a sex force as well as a spirit force. Now, this is written in 1967. So this is way before the movies and the sex scenes and all of the ratchet music and all this stuff like that. And this force called Leviathan controls nations, people with sex. So when you look at it from that standpoint, you have to now, when you look at the politics, all of that stuff is generated by this giant sex force, and it controls people, and it generates from blood and water, which are basically the water is like the most powerful part of the earth god, and everything damn near that's a mammal or a reptile has blood. So it's showing you that the sex force controls anything that has water in its body and blood in its body. So we just talking about on a human level. So if you know you got billions of people around the globe and they have government structures set up, known and unknown, Leviathan is controlling them. Now, when you jump back to the top, it said there's a spell upon the Ethiopian woolly-head, look, the world over. And it is a spell of spiritual ignorance and racial indifference cast upon the Ethiopian by Leviathan. So I'm identifying through the writings that Leviathan is a sex force. And that right there said that's a spell that's casted upon our race worldwide. Over here, you see the ratchetness in the movies and the music. And overseas, you see our people who got way too many kids they can't take care of. When you look at the places that they do show of Africa, there's malnutrition, and they still got 4 or 5 kids, and they barely can survive day to day because Leviathan is a sex force that's controlling and making them keep doing themselves to keep them trapped in this type of thing. And so until people understand, that's why I said that's why I say Leviathan is a sex force now.
But Tar, on that, let me play righteous advocate of sorts on that, because I understand what you said, reference the 5 or 6 children, etc. But there is a variance to that of sorts, because you've got the tribal element where they, if you ain't protecting your stuff, especially in East Africa, those countries, if you're not protecting your homestead of sorts, the other tribe who are no more than half a kilometer away at night, they're gonna come and do their night raids. Outside of that, there's a governmental system, but the further and further you go out of the towns, it's pretty much they're governing themselves. So it's not. I don't think, and you could be indeed correct. I don't think the Leviathan spirit is saying, even though you're in this this deplorable position, you can't get food for yourself. I don't think they're saying, yeah, man, let's still produce children. I think it's a bit of, I guess, like maybe ignorance of sorts, and hope that they'll be able to survive, and the crops will be able to dealt with, or they can produce whatever they need to produce. But I get the point.
But see, what I'm talking about is the ones that's like when they show the Ethiopian commercials, and you see those are people with the skin and bones and all of that, but they still having children and they can barely eat, and they're starving. Those are the group of people I'm talking about, because they can't. Nobody's attacking and because they're not gonna be no use to the other side either way. Even if, you know what I'm saying, attacking maybe taking from them, but they already dirt poor. But Leviathan, when we talk about controlling in this sense, it doesn't care about the issues
surrounding.
It doesn't care. See, it like over here, you can see the system. You can see where we just, especially since 1970 when they broke the family up, and then they split the protective male from the female, and then they took the jobs and the farms away, and a lot of people start giving up farming to go to the city. All that spiritual. And so when we don't understand, and that's what, again, Leviathan brings not just sexual lust, but the lust of persons, places, and things. So a lot of people was in a country town, I want to go to the big city.
The big city, bright lights.
You see what I'm saying? The bright lights.
Yeah.
All that, because Leviathan also represents deception too. So all that deception, and a lot of us just ran out, because all we had was the Bible. But we still didn't know the real deal behind that. But the Bible is a tool of Leviathan, as all religious books are tools of Leviathan, especially against us. And so we ended up where we at now. We kept believing and hoping and trying to change Caucasian people, and they kept Leviathan sending fake black people, that fake liberators, fake saviors. And you got to get in the system and change it from the inside. All that crap we went through for decades, and look where we at now. Now we at the end, where now America, which been using its political religious structure to dethrone us mentally, spiritually, economically, and all of that. And now I'm hearing that cry now. Now they seeing, but what happens is you can't get lost in the word. Okay, Democrat, Republican, these are just words.
Yeah.
About the people that's representing the name is very much important. So even though people try to dance around race, you still have to look at it that these are Caucasian people who their ruling individuals keep coming up with these crazy rules and laws to
Yes.
lock us out of what we're supposed to have. So once you snap out of religion, which keeps telling you to forgive people and let them rock, and you know, maybe they'll change it, all you're doing is giving them more chances to harm you, which is what the system does, what its creators, the nature is. When you make laws, no matter where you go in the world, laws are made and based on the nature, the heart, mind, and soul of the lawmakers. And whatever deity or deities that they're worshiping. So when you in America, we see the rules are very biased and deadly, and people, you know, getting shot and killed by so-called public servants, and a lot of them get off the jury is mixed. They don't all these different things, even in the music industry. You know, now that
but even with that, you're 1,000% correct. The hearts, minds, and intention, spirits of the lawmakers will create those laws. But you have some of the laws which are indeed on paper, and they can be just. But as you say, once we get to the actual examination of and applying the application of the law, it's the equality is not there. That's what the major issue. You can come up with your laws outside of anti-misogyny laws and all those things, you know, and the flagrancy laws and all those kind of things, you know. No more than 2 original people can gather. Do you remember those laws?
Yeah. That was part of the. I know they had the black codes, Jim Crow laws, that stuff like that.
Black codes, the black codes. This is it, yeah. So you know that's not fair. That is blatant inequality. So to strip that away, provided a law which provided equality, but the application of the equality is still the same as having the red zoning, the Jim Crow laws, and all the rest of the stuff.
And that goes to the point of what Noom teaches about one-sided racism, and it's that, you know, that's what's wrong, is that when you understand the nature of persons, places, and things, and I give you a rudimentary example, we already know what the KKK is like. Why would I move into a location near or within the realm, let's say, of the KKK? Because by nature, they're showing you what's most likely going to happen to you is not going to be nice. So it's easy for us to pinpoint that, because we look at the KKK, we add in, we factor in, it's something in them that makes them like that. But when it comes to people who are not as blatant as outright hating you, but it shows in their laws, their rules, their codes, their business practices, all of that stuff, that is even worse than a person back then or a KKK person, because you were able to have your own land and be able to fend off your own house. My business didn't necessarily depend on the KKK, so they had to come to me up front and we had to battle it out. But when you surrounded by what they call white supremacy or white dominancy, now you can jam me up with the education, you know, food, you know, business, all of that stuff. These are forms that our people, because of Leviathan and our attraction to the white race, no matter what they've done to us, we'll look at the people that's cool with us that are Caucasian, right, or mankind, and because those relationships are cool or good, or maybe unique in certain cases, but they are not the dominant power and they don't rule anything, and they can't change that. Those people are able to be what they were because the cycle called for them to be able to take other people's lands and all the things that they did to maintain white supremacy. So a lot of times it's only a few Caucasian people understand it in the lens that we see it from. So it makes them as a race by nature dangerous because they still doing it. It's not like they stopped doing it 40, 50 years ago. They're still doing it in living color.
Yes, indeed, sir.
We need to understand the nature of what's going on. And I keep telling you, that's why I said this here, the nature of mankind's laws and his system is sexually based. All of it. And that energy's name is Leviathan. So I gave you the first basis of that. So when we look out into the world, you already see what's going on with Diddy and the rest of them. It's the energies that people are not seeing. They still can't look past the person.
The personage.
Right, they can't get past the flesh part. They can't, but the same thing keeps coming up. When you look into Epstein, it was what? Drugs, partying, sex, blood and animal sacrifices, child rape, human trafficking. But all this stuff goes on in the occult world if you study stuff in the past. It's still happening.
Of course.
But sex is behind it because that's what takes place in these orgies. I was having a conversation in the barbershop a couple of days ago, and I was talking about the movie The Matrix. The second Matrix, when Neo and them made it back to Zion, they had a big party and they was having sex. It started raining from the top of the ceiling, and they was dancing, and they started going in slow motion, and then you showed Neo and Trinity went back to the room. They was having sex, and they was going back and forth between them having sex in the room and to the people having sex outside. And they, again, Hollywood been grooming us on multiple levels. So when you really look at that, our subconscious being programmed, and Leviathan is there. Sex, drugs, violence, and all of other crazy things that we see in the movies, and what you don't see because the frames move so fast.
Yes, it's only catching in the subconscious. Yes,
there you go. So everything around us is sexual. Now let me show you this real quick right here, so you can understand. Go ahead.
As you bringing that up, question. Now you've described the force. We've gone into detail of sorts in regards to the application of the Leviathan. Are there any beings who have recognized and are indeed worshipping and giving reverence to this spirit?
Of course, Leviathan is in everything, man. Leviathan is recorded in the Bible as a giant serpent, a primordial beast, but it's primarily in water, and it's able to, and it's all spirit beings combined and separated. It's the most powerful thing in the bottom half, but I have to explain to you why. But yeah, they worship it under different names.
Felima and all that. Crowley would have been a big.
Whatever name he was in contact with, it's still. Whatever spirit these people are operating in that's causing them to do this is definitely Leviathan. Leviathan is in everything. So you can be a moon worshiper and Leviathan is there, controlling the spirits. You can be a sun worshiper, Leviathan is there. You see what I'm saying? And when you look at the rituals, if you look deep enough, it all surrounds by sex. I don't care what culture it is, the occult or non. When you start, even with the Masonics, to get into certain Masonic things, they have to, the skull and bones about to lay in a coffin with your buddy and tell your deepest secrets and masturbate. Sex is instituted in there some kind of way. Because if you think about it, why? But they don't understand the why though. They just know that all of these things that people are doing, when you got to go to become, for me to become an actor, I got to go and get on the casting couch and have sex with the director and all these people. They don't understand why though. You see? That's the
I guess Xar, they're thinking it's just them and their sexual desires. They're not thinking any higher than that. Like that something is actually driving the whole of this.
Right. They don't know that. They don't know that. Even the people in the occult, only the handlers that control Hollywood and the underworlds around they know it's a sexual force because the demons are sexual too. And the demons make them design these underground palaces and things like that and rituals and draw all this stuff on the floor. And we see it in the movie. It's not like we just waiting on hearsay. It's in our face all the time. But because the Leviathan controls the spirits that we have, our personal spirit, that spirit job is to keep us distracted.
Yes.
And so we don't veer off into, or your mind, your natural intuition and reasonability is being suppressed. So you don't normally or naturally be like, what is this? You know, your curiosity don't kick in to ask those questions like, why are they putting this and that? Like, I bring that up all the time. If you watch the Man of Steel movie they made of Superman in 2017, I think.
Yes.
When they was leaving Krypton, all of the ships that was leaving Krypton was shaped like penises and dildos, and they was twirling to get off the planet. But when you look back into the original Superman, it was none of that. Nobody tried to leave the planet. Superman as a child was the only one, and the three criminals that tried to take over.
Yes.
He left Krypton in the original story.
The rest of it blew up.
Right. So when you watch the Superman Man of Steel, you see they show it quick. And I was like, yo, this is insane. But they're consistently implanting sexual imagery into your mind because Leviathan is controlling everything.
Not sure forget. We ain't had no life, but we still found a way.